Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Grandma Terry's apartment in Battery Park City, New York City. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Friday's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're here with Mara, our producer, our inspiration. Kaustubha, whatever happens if they switch your title at the Bhakti Center? Like, oh, actually, you're going to do something else now. No, you can't. Honestly, I've got a nameplate on my desk that says senior educator.
I mean, I regularly consider whether we should just drop that, because it's like, it's not, at one point it was kind of like it had a real role. Now it's not really, it's kind of just like, it could mean almost anything.
Go in there, do they go, oh, here comes the senior educator?
Well, it's like now it might mean like they consult me about, I'm not like directly involved, they may consult me about like programming.
You might be like the oldest guy there who does education.
Well, there's that. Or if
He's
like
senior.
A group of people is coming, like if say a school group is coming, or some kind of group is coming, they may say, oh, well, we'll get our senior educator. So it's like that, but it doesn't mean too much anymore, to be honest.
Well, at least you got a title. I don't have one. I'm waiting for you and Meredith.
I made that up too. We were talking about that a minute ago, right? You got to make your own up, get out in front of it, and then you don't get stuck with one you don't like. So why don't we come up with one of you? You're the host. That's it.
The host? All right, I'll take that. Host of Wisdom Sages? No.
Yeah, that's
well,
what
you're the host.
I'm your
too.
host. You say it every morning, right? I'm co-host.
Okay.
Kind of co-pilot,
All right, Krishna Miracle Time. You ready? If you follow my Instagram, you'll see. So I'm taking Grandma Terry to Chinatown to get her, monthly haircut. Okay. And, meandering around the gift
shops. Does she
shops.
have like a favorite Chinese
Yeah, she has this guy, Leo. He's
okay.
Chinese. He might have changed his name to Leo, but... Okay. Probably is not his name, because everybody's Chinese there.
It comes from Lee.
Yeah, could be Lee. But anyway, we got our hair cut, and then we started meandering around the shops in Chinatown, which I always like, picking up some rare herbal teas and some
ginseng.
No, I picked up some nunchucks. Truthfully, giving nunchucks out to the kids for Christmas presents. Okay. Why not? It's Christmas. Let's crack a skull. And my kids got all weapons this year. That's what they're. Yeah, okay. Punching bag, speed bag, nunchucks, throwing knives. Anyway, that's what the kids do upstate. But anyway, and so then we're like, let's get some Chinese food. But I want to go to a vegetarian restaurant because there's a lot of Buddhists down there, so there's a lot of good vegetarian restaurants. And I was supposed to meet you for dinner on the 17th. With Johnavie Harrison's parents, and I'm good friends with her dad and good friends with Johnavie. I don't really know her mom that much, but they had to cancel and move it to Monday. I can't do it Monday, but I was like, oh, that's too bad. So we're walking down the street.
So you're thinking you're not going to get the chance.
So yeah, well, I didn't get to meet her. Well, her dad wanted to pick me up at the airport, and because we're sort of old school buds.
Okay.
I've known him since Shelter toured in England in 1995. He came to 2 of our shows. So anyway. He didn't get to see me in England, and I never go to England. And then I missed him on the 17th at your house. And so I just figured I threw my hands up in the air. So I was like, oh, there's a vegetarian restaurant over there, Mom. So we went in, and we went, have to do outdoor seating because I forgot my vaccination card. And who is like right across from us? This whole family.
Genevieve and her whole family.
Johnavie Harrison and her whole family. We were just talking across the sidewalks, who just to join us. Next thing you know, it's a total Krishna miracle. If we would have planned to meet them in Chinatown, who would have? How many millions of people are in New York City that you run into the Harrisons?
You probably would have been late and missed them if you would have planned it.
If we made a plan, I would have been late.
That's right.
Exactly. You couldn't have done it and there's 1,000 reasons why they were there at that time, because something else didn't work out. They were going to leave early. That, my friend, the probability
Of all the gin joints.
Right, is tiny. Is tiny. We're going to call that a Krishna miracle.
I will.
What do you think? Even though I said that to Johnny, and she's like, "Well, there's only so many vegetarian restaurants in New York City." I was like, "You trying to squash my miracle, Johnny?"
Well, she was playing my role because I wasn't there.
She was. I know. Someone's got to play your. Let's get grounded. Let's get grounded here.
No, that was great. And then we had a little dinner for Mara in Mara's honor.
Then we had our Mara. Then we had Mara's Wisdom of the Sages dinner.
Yeah.
And
That was lovely. Thank you.
I don't know if it was planned or not, but Lori Pag and Akiko were right behind us. Was that planned, or did they just stumble in there anyway?
Well, they could have been there on a Thursday night, especially, but maybe they heard you talking about it on the show yesterday. I don't know.
And then Mustache Ananda and Ariana Lindbergh, aka Malati, shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Missy, we saw Missy there. A lot of nice
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Mara got a new microphone, you see.
Mara got a new microphone. She'll sound much better. That was her Christmas present. I said that's like an equivalent of getting your wife a vacuum cleaner for Christmas.
A used vacuum cleaner. I gave it to Mara. I said, like, everything. I made this nice box. I put a nice bow on it. I said,
and I bought you some sponges for the kitchen. You could clean up a little better. It's a little, got some leftover carrot on there. You might want to sponge it up.
Everything in the box may not be new. She's like, you gave me your used microphone.
I don't think she knew.
Yeah.
No, you gave her a book too, but she already had the book.
She already had the book, yes. Yeah, so.
It wasn't a great Christmas exchange, was it?
Well, but it's a good microphone.
Yeah.
But it's not hooked up yet. She hasn't figured it out.
She'll never
yet.
complain about it. That's the thing.
Imagine if like a whole new personality came out when she had the new microphone. It was just like, she was like,
welcome to Wisdom of the Sages. I'm your hostess, Mara. All right, let's get on with this. You're squirreling me out of spiritual life, Kaustubha.
All right. You got a nugget?
Oh, have I got a nugget, my friend?
Okay.
Friendship.
What's it from?
Hito Pradesh.
Hito Pradesh. We're getting a lot of nuggets out of this Hito Pradesh.
A lot of nugget. They should just call this Nugget Amrita.
Yeah.
Friendship with the wicked is compared to a clay pot, easily broken and impossible to mend.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas friendship with a gentleman is compared to a gold pot, difficult to break, yet easy to mend.
You see that?
Gold is very malleable. It's very
Clay
soft.
pot?
It's a soft metal.
A clay pot, if you break that thing, it breaks easily.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to, you can never put that thing back together. You try to glue it. Yeah. But a gold pot, very hard to break. But even if it does break, you can just easily mend it. That's what we're meant to be like in our friendships, right?
Yeah.
Not holding these grudges.
Like conscious uncoupling.
Yes, like conscious uncoupling.
You know how you get the conscious uncoupling? From unconscious coupling.
That's right. Okay. You want to read the commentary? Should I read the commentary? What are we going to do here?
I read. The wicked establish friendships to satisfy agendas, ulterior motives. But as soon as their needs are met or the relationship proves troublesome, it ends. Wicked or selfish people try to use others to serve their own agenda, and those who they cannot involve, they deem useless. They cannot respect a human being merely because he or she is a human being. Rather, they see people as things, objects to use, and once it is not useful, to be discarded. Just being another human being without necessarily some further definition or criterion of value is not enough to win respect of the wicked or the selfish. This narcissism is ultimately the root of evil. In contrast, the saintly are unselfish and unmotivated. Thus, friendship is steadfast. If discord arises, it can easily be reconciled by reasonable discussion. Thus, Sundar Pandya, an authority on niti, right? Niti is like instructions.
Logic? Yeah, niti, instruction, yeah.
Says, Enmity among fools is deep and steadfast, like a groove cut in stone. But a wise man's hostility is like a line drawn on water. It remains only for an instant. By the way, I just want the world to know, I didn't come up with this. This wasn't my nugget. This was Kaustubha's nugget. Some people think I'm trying to point this at somebody. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
I brought up the nugget. It was me.
It's Kaustubha's nugget.
I wasn't trying to point to anyone either. I was just
No, you weren't. I know, but you know me going through my stuff. You might think I like filing this. See, this is what you get. Get some of this.
Nobody was thinking that, Raghunath. Nobody was thinking that.
No, maybe I was thinking that. I'm very mental lately. Okay. But this is a great point, huh?
It is. Yeah,
because, I've seen Kaustubha upset. Guy gets upset at me on the regular. That phone rings right after the show. I know I'm in trouble. But, all it takes is a couple, a little conversation and we let it go. And that's it's not about how buddy you are with people. It's how when things get tough, how quick you can let it go.
Yeah, right? And I think even people we even glamorize, like popularly, I think people even feel like
sports stars.
Well, I'm just saying there's something cool about like, hey, I was wronged and I'm never gonna forget it.
We love when people are like, yeah, you cut me, you
cut you out.
You wronged me once, it's over. It's over.
Because that's just the way I am.
Because that's the way I am. I got news for you. And you know what? Those are like exactly. They're people, on at The Godfather or one of these like mob movies where they say something like that, and then we start to repeat it, and that actually becomes our philosophy. We don't even realize it's trickled down, become part of my mind. Yeah. And the problem with it is, these are some fools who end up dying a horrible death, even in the movie. These are the people we're emulating. We're repeating what they have to say. Oh, I like it sounds pretty cool. Once you cross me, it's done. I'm done.
That's the way I am, baby.
It's basically, you're saying, if you make any mistake whatsoever, I'm going to sit with resentment forever, and I'm going to sit with hate and resentment forever. Like, not so smart, man.
Yeah, and if you want to be that way, you can be, but if you want to be like that and practice yoga, it's not going to work.
And good luck.
Yeah, it's not going to.
You might get to down dog and up dog.
Yeah. So we got to think like that, right? Like in my own relationships, am I easily mendable? Is my line cut, like deeply cut in stone, or is it just like a quick line across the water that I'm ready to let go?
Kaustubha, this is the nugget of all nuggets. I think this is big,
really,
because I think it's what separates mature devotees from people who are practicing. But resentment's a huge issue on a spiritual path. We have to learn to forgive. That's part of our practice. If I'm holding resentment for people in my heart, there will be a very low ceiling in my spiritual life. So it's got to be dealt with. We've got to like dig deep in our hearts. What the Bhakti Recovery Group calls that taking a deep and thorough moral inventory.
I like that.
And then,
and
assessing. One of the 12-step people can maybe correct me if I'm saying it wrong. Moral inventory, and also it's I can't remember. Someone help me out, you 12-steppers.
But
we're like, we can't. We're anonymous. We're not allowed to.
Maybe when
there's some non-anonymous 12-steppers here.
Maybe when you finally put your 6 pillars book together, you could include these quotes here from.
You know what? That's a great idea.
Pradesh, right?
Because that's a good one. It's quick to apologize. That's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm obtuse. I'm short-sighted. I'm quick to apologize. And we don't take offense as Vaishnavas. If people have hurt us, we take that as an opportunity to grow.
Okay. Like, good nugget, huh?
Great nugget.
Punch or Touch, it's such a fascinating book. Or the Hitopadesh, it's the way it tells stories. It's incredible. It's like, it's this Vishnu Sharma, he's teaching these young princes so that they could be able to rule in the future with wisdom. And he's telling it all through animal stories. So it's like this pigeon that gets caught, and he's kind of like the leader of the pigeons, and they all get caught in the net. And then they realize and then there's a hunter is coming, and then they realize the only way to get out of this is if we all work together, because, and then come like the quotes, like these kind of sayings. And then all the birds, like although none of them has the strength to escape on their own, they all like fly together, and then they're able to fly with the net. And then they're like, well, what are we going to do now? We're all stuck in this net. And he's like, don't worry, I have a friend, because, and then there's like a quote about friendship, and like what a true friend is. And then they go to the king of the mice, and they land at his hole, and then they call for him. And then when the mouse hears the pigeon who's his friend, he recognizes, oh, that's my friend. He comes out, and then he says a few verses about friendship. Oh, it's so good to have a friend like you because, and then come the quotes. And then he's like, and then he says, can you help like chew us out of this net? And he says yes. He says, but let me. He says, well, then please, release all the other pigeons here. And he says, no, well, let me. And then he tests him. The mouse tests him, and he says, let me chew you out because my teeth aren't so sharp, and I might not be able to free everyone. So let me free you first. And then the pigeon says, no. And then there's all these lessons about leadership, like these pigeons have given their lives to me. It would be wrong for me, let's set them free. Even if I die, that's okay. But I want that, And then the mouse glorifies him and gives more about leadership, and then he chews him and gets him out of the. It just keeps going and going and going.
Dropping the hint, Mara. Christmas present. He dope a day. Last time I'm gonna say it, and I'll probably say it again.
Got it.
Okay.
Until I see
It's
that
relatively inexpensive.
Amazon Prime receipt email come up
Yeah,
that
punch
it
a
has
puncher,
been
too.
purchased. You'll keep getting that little hint.
Okay.
Thanks.
You have like a wish list. Is that how it works?
Yeah,
If there's
All right.
1 week to go, that's it, Mara. Okay.
Mary, you gotta get it.
Keto
We'll
dish.
make it. Okay. Well, where are we here today, Mary?
No, Mara.
Database.
Try to get that mic hooked up before the end of the show today. We'll get it.
Yeah. Well, she
Looks
drove back
cool.
last night with Bobby. That was a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I hate that drive. Coming back late at night after vegan lasagna. It's like enough to like, I'm driving all over the road at that point. Even that thing the size of a brick. It's like a cure for
I warned you
insomnia.
about that. Raghu.
A
I said
cure
it's
for
like
insomnia.
It's delicious, but
I
it's
ate
like a
that
huge
thing.
brick.
I was ready to fall asleep, my face in my plate.
When you order lasagna Adivias, it should be like 2 of you working on that thing, right? It's like that
I
thing is
know, but I
massive.
can't do that. I'm just like, no, I have to have it all. And that's why I start to look like a brick of lasagna. That's why I look like SpongeBob lately.
Okay. Like a big
Right.
dokla. SpongeBob is a dokla.
You call me
That's-
Dokla Baba? Okay. Narayanam namaskrityanam chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will become established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Hit it, Mara.
Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 18.
Text 18.
Text 18.
Oh, so we're wrapping up. There are like 4 verses that were about the practice of bhakti, how the mind becomes purified through the practice of bhakti. We heard about being dutiful, but without causing as little violence as possible. Right? You're responsible in life and do your duties, do your business, whatever you got to do, but try to be very sensitive to others while doing it. We talked about temple worship and the purifying effect that type of ritual has on the mind. We talked about cultivating, seeing everyone equally, seeing the soul, right?
There were good verses.
Good verses. And then in text 17, it discussed the 3 different categories of people and how to relate with them. The seniors, the juniors, those
Right.
more fortunate, those less fortunate, those equally fortunate, and your peers.
Right.
And now to wrap it up, text 18, this gets down to some of the serious, most fundamental practices of bhakti.
Let's read 18.
18.
A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. Their behavior should always be straightforward, simple. And although he's not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced.
Okay. So the first sentence right there hits like maybe, I guess you could say the two most fundamental practices of bhakti. They come first when it's the 9 limbs of bhakti are mentioned. Shravanam, right? It says adhyatmika anushravanat. That's the Shravanam right there. Hearing spiritual matters. And then the next one, Nama Sankirtanat. Kirtan, right? Kirtan of the names. Nama Sankirtanat. Chanting of the holy names. Hearing and chanting are like the 2 most basic fundamental practices in bhakti. I hear Bhagavatam. I hear Bhagavad Gita. I hear these, the Krishna's glories through these texts and the instructions of them. And then also meditating on the name, which is pure spiritual energy, pure potency there.
He should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced. What do you think about that? That could sound like a real, wait, these guys are in a cult here. It depends. We are, first of all, we are.
We're called. Is that what you're saying?
Well, here's the deal. It's like when you start to work on what you want to become, who you are, what you want to become. Suppose you want to be an elite athlete. Mm-hmm. You don't want to hang out with the guy who's just sitting around eating pie all day.
No, you go like say you want to play basketball in New York City. You try to get to that level. You go to the best courts, right? In the city, you go to Rucker Park.
About the basketball scene in New York City.
There's different places in the city. Yeah, there's like
people play basketball, right? There's you can just go there and jump in the game.
These guys are really good. Rucker Park in Harlem. They got the Cage down on 6th Avenue in the Village.
Cage.
You got Tillery Street in Brooklyn. You got Coney Island. These are like places where like really good. So if you get in their association, your game gets lifted.
Right. So the idea is once you start to refine what you want to become, then of course you're going to refine your circle. That makes sense. And by hanging out with somebody who doesn't have that, I like people who bring me up. You know what I mean? That's why I go to India. It's not just to take people around. I find people that bring us up, and that way I can lift myself up. I don't want to be like the head of the class where I'm like the star student. I want to find people that are lifting me up in their character, in their consciousness, in their behavior, because it makes me want to raise my bar. And if you start hanging out with people who have a lot of bad qualities, sometimes you pick up on their language, their habits. It becomes normal. Not only that, sometimes you end up dating them. And next thing you know, you're in a relationship with a person with bad habits. Okay. So that happens when you hang out with people. So anyway, everything's a different circumstance, but I 30 years ago, if I was to read this verse, I'd be like, wait, this is so weird and culty.
It's not though. I mean, even your parents are going to tell you, right, as you're growing up, right? Like they're very concerned about who you're associating with.
Yeah, who's going to be at that party?
Yeah.
Oh, some guys from the local college are coming down. What?
And they say, "Oh, no, man, that kid, he's bad company, right? He's bad company."
Bad company. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I was wondering if that was going to trigger a Bad Company song coming from you.
I don't know them.
Okay. Well, you don't even know the
Parmananda's
Bad Company
father
song?
warned him hanging out with me. Parmananda's father called me a drifter.
He's a drifter, that kid. That
he
capo.
said that capo's a drifter. You're gonna move in with him. He's a drifter. I was like, you know what? It's like 40 years later. I think I am a drifter. I think his father was right.
He's like a high
sort of
drifter
drifting around the material world.
Yeah, no.
Oh man.
It did Parmananda good to connect with you though.
Yeah, made great music, traveled all over the world.
And made beautiful music together.
In the holy name.
And now, but also mentioned in this verse, this is really important. And this is something you really got to think about, right? Mm-hmm. That the behavior should always be straightforward and simple. Straightforward and simple, Raghunath. Right?
What does that mean?
You're honest. I know what I
mean. Why don't you give an example so we can really understand?
Well, like for instance, like how I deal with others. I may rationalize, I may justify all different kind of games I might play, little lies that I might tell, or not even necessarily lies, but like in my dealings, I may not be thoroughly honest, I may have ulterior motives that I'm not sharing. A straightforward person is like, there's nothing behind them It's not like the truth is hidden back somewhere, like there's some facade put in front of it. And that kind of, if I deal with people in that way, if I'm not talking about one thing but hoping they're not catching on to something else, if you have to be detached to be like that. You have to really have no agenda. You're not worried about your financial situation. You're not worried about your prestige situation. Because I'm not concerned about those things, I can be very straightforward. And when you're like that, all the anxiety in life disappears, right? Because you're already upfront. The truth is already known. There's no truth that's hidden that you're afraid of becoming known. So you're straightforward, Especially when it comes to money, people have to be like this. That can really interfere with relationships, But wherever different kind of personal motives come into play, being straightforward is, in relation, always the two big ones, sex and money.
Sex and money, they're big.
Yeah, so whenever it comes to like those kind of romantic relationships, people are playing games with each other, they're not straightforward.
Yeah.
I want to sleep with this person, but I don't really want to get involved, but I'm acting like I do want to get involved. That's not being straightforward, and so the yogi's straightforward. There's no anxiety in their mind. So then they can focus it. Then the hearing and the chanting,
keeps the mind peaceful.
Keeps the mind peaceful.
Keeps the mind peaceful.
Purifies the mind. Yeah. So straightforward in one's behavior. Very important. Hard to, not necessarily easy to be able to be good judge of oneself with that, right? Because there always is that rationalization of why I said what I said and so on.
Well, this is what I meant. You took it like that.
Yeah.
And then we also want to hear what we want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
True. So you don't, even when you're getting some help along the way, you're not hearing it.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay. Text number 19?
I was texting.
This is text number 19 is going to say, what we just heard all these practices, right? Again, I won't list them all, but being dutiful in temple worship and seeing everyone equally and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of that practice, all of that effort, what's the benefit? What does it lead to? Where does it all go? That's going to be text 19.
I don't know if anybody picked up on this, but Kaustubha called me a dokla. He said my body looks like a dokla. So unless you understand Gujarati food, a dokla is a big, spongy, fluffy. Then he called me. He said, "I got a nickname for you, Fluffernath, Fluffernath Prabhu."
I didn't say that.
Oh no, Mara said that. Your name is Fluffernath, like Fluffernutter. Not funny.
You brought it up.
Fluffernutter. And dokla is a spongy, soft, yellow block of cake.
It looks like a sponge.
Yeah, and yes.
Someone, where did we see that recently? Someone said, "I finally get it. SpongeBob is a big piece of dokla."
Yeah.
I don't know where anymore. I heard that somewhere. Okay, Robert, come on. Text 19. This is where it all. I made this whole setup, and then you went back. You see, that's called a squirrel.
Okay.
All of these practices, where do they all lead? What is
when
the value?
one is finally qualified with all these transcendental attributes and his consciousness is thus completely purified,
yes,
he is immediately attracted simply by hearing my name or hearing my transcendental quality.
Snap, right? Like the magnet, snap, right?
One is fully qualified with all these transcendental attributes and his consciousness is thus completely. So this is what we're doing. We're in preparation for chanting.
Mm-hmm.
We're in preparation for that.
True.
And all of our sadhana, all of our yoga, all of our cleansing, all of our yamas and niyamas, our ethics, our way to behave, right? It's all preparing us. So that meditation, that, the holy name is like, boom, we're locked in. Otherwise, we're just like hitting a wall. Krishna's not going to let us in there. We have to come. You can't walk in the temple unless you're clean, so to speak. And we have to become internally clean through our behavior, through our thoughts, even, and through our activities. And then we become very, very qualified. And then it makes all sense. Krishna's like right in front of us, but we're to take the responsibility ourselves. We just refuse to look at him. He's like right in front of our face. We're like looking right through him. And we have to, and all these things we talk about are ethics and mindfulness and yamas and niyamas and behavior and the way we treat people. This is all the way to defog the glasses that we're wearing.
Yeah. It's like think of it this way. We by nature we're going to be attracted to something, right? And in the world that we live in, we're attracted to so. It used to be simpler. Now it's like really complicated, right? Like, what are some of these things you subscribe to on Instagram, Raghunath?
I just subscribe to a lot of things. Bad drivers daily. That's a good one.
Okay, you're attracted
Bad
to that for
drivers.
some reason. Yeah.
Dash cam footage. That's a great one too.
Okay,
Dash cam footage. Dash cam footage is a great.
there's a lot to learn there.
I follow hashtag flying knees.
What does that
and
mean? Flying knees.
It's a Muay Thai thing where you instead of just kneeing the person in the chest, you jump and you throw a flying knee.
So it's violence, acts of violence attract you.
Prabhu, it's martial skills.
Yeah, but you also like the animals where they're killing each other. That's not martial skills. That's
No,
just
but
another type
that
of
reminds me of the temporality of existence. Oh,
I'm not
beautiful
saying-
deer eating grass. I'm vegan. A vegan deer is now about to get killed. I think it's just important to understand, like, you're the deer, man. You're the deer. There's
know.
violence around. You can die at any second. You brought this up. It's your
I don't
squirrel.
No, it's
you're
not a
asking
squirrel.
you're asking what my hashtag that I follow are.
I'm not blaming you for talking. Why are you getting defensive? I'm saying we're attracted to so many different things. And I know that when you're watching those animals being killed, you're deriving all kind of deep spiritual lessons.
Spiritual depth, my friends.
Yeah, I know that. But I'm saying there's so many things that people are attracted to, right? But by nature, none of them are satisfying because we're not attuned with those things, right? They'll never fully satisfy. What are we meant to be attracted to? What will give us that Atma Supersidity?
Well, all of our practices, including the things I follow on Instagram, are meant to bring me to that point. I'm not just joking here.
Yeah, okay.
By keeping death,
A little bit you're joking.
a little bit
Not
joking,
just
but
joking.
keeping death at the forefront of my mind,
Yeah.
it makes me not get so comfortable in the material world. I
Okay,
follow landslides. I follow avalanches. I follow.
You like watching things get destroyed.
Yeah, avalanches, landslides.
Automobile accidents,
Tons
things
of
like
snakes. Yeah. But it wakes you up. Like, okay, they're driving around, everything's fine. All of a sudden, they're spitting out on black ice. This is good to hear.
That. Okay,
It's
no,
good
but
to see.
we've all accepted that. You don't need to defend that point anymore, Raghunath. We're with you
Okay.
on that. Okay.
All right.
So now get back into the setup that I had created and you dropped the ball on. We're meant to be attracted to something. What are we meant to be attracted to that is going to give us that complete satisfaction of the soul?
Yeah. What is it you're asking? Is it your
I'm asking you.
rhetorical question?
I said you have
Okay.
twice now.
Oh, it's Sri Krishna. Sri
Thank you.
Krishna, of
Okay.
course.
Yes.
And that's
there you
where it is. And that's the reason for mindfulness. That's the reason for
Right.
don't be attached.
Right.
Really? Should I just not be attached? So that will make me like that will make my soul be filled with joy. All these like little words we throw out in the yoga community. Don't be attached.
Right.
Let go.
go.
All these things.
Svadharma.
So follow your dharma, do your duty. They're all meant to bring us to meditation on Sri Krishna.
Well,
That's
there you
not me
go.
making this up.
Yeah.
That's not my little tiny thin religions making it up. That's the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Well, you know where
which
it
is
starts?
considered the essence of the Vedanta Sutra, which is considered the essence of the Vedic teachings. Boom.
There you go. And you know where that gets defined clearly is right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, right? Where all those sages, they turn to Sutta Goswami and they're saying, you know, what is the best thing for all humanity, right? What of all the Vedic teachings, which ones are the most important? Which ones lead to complete satisfaction of the soul? And then he says, Savai Pungsa Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Hoksaje. It's Bhakti Yoga, right? That's done without any personal motivation. That's what delivers Atma Supersidity, complete satisfaction of the soul. And then he talks about Jnana. And then he talks about karma, or you can say performing that svadharma, doing one's duties in life. Because someone might think, well, if I read the Vedas, it seems like being dutiful is the most important thing, and that's what
You'll
leads to all
hear
happiness.
if you talk to most Indians, they'll say, you know, what's the goal of the Gita? They'll say, do your duty,
Do your duty.
follow your duty, and
So
it's not the
it's-
goal.
And so to clarify that goal in the Bhagavatam, which is again where Vyasadeva, if you haven't gotten it yet, I'm going to make it really clear for you. There's that verse, Dharma Svas
I was about to quote that.
Hit
Let me
it.
quote that. Let me hit it. Ready?
Yeah.
Dharma projita kaita
No, not that
sararam satam vedyam vastabam atravastu shivanam tapatrayan mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kritibir Kim Parar Ishvaraha. I can't remember the last verse.
It's okay because that was not the verse that I was talking about.
No.
That's the second verse in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, what that does is it's cutting away. That's where I thought you were going with this. That verse is saying how all the sacred texts up to now still had some hint of it's for you. I'm doing this. I'm practicing, and it's true.
It was catering to our selfishness, our lack of realization.
If you follow ethics, you'll be happier. If you follow some rules of the road, so to speak, you'll live in peace.
You'll get good things in this world.
You'll get good karma. You get good results in the spirit in the afterlife. You'll get a good result. But it's in the biggest sense of the picture, it's cheating out of the highest thing because we're not self. We're not meant to be the center. We're meant to serve the center.
Right.
And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam brings you up to that highest stage. So you weren't talking about that.
The verse that I was referring to was
Dharma Projita.
No, you're going right. We're going to That's it.
Shrama eva hi kevalam. So proud. Look at Mary; she's so proud of me.
She's like, yeah,
he knows it.
He got it.
He knew it.
So the svadharma that we do in life, the different activities, the occupational prescribed Vedic duties that we do in life.
Yeah.
It says that they are only so much useless labor if they do not, and this is where it's all meant to lead.
This is a great verse. Everybody should memorize this verse.
Okay, we got little Karuna, 8 years old. I wonder if she
on the
knows
board.
this one. Yeah, has she learned Bhagavatam verses yet?
She doesn't know this verse.
Okay,
Mara doesn't know this verse. This is a great verse to know.
Okay, so let's read it then. The occupational activities that one performs according to their own duties,
which means your dharma, which means your dharma.
The whole Vedic teachings are talking about this. There are only so much useless labor. What? It's like
what? Right? Your dharma's useless labor.
Yeah, if they're considered useless, so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction.
There you go.
For the message of the personality of Godhead. If when I hear Bhagavatam, I don't feel attraction, then all my duties aren't really doing me any good. That's the whole point. They're meant to bring you to that point of attraction. So that's what we're reading about here in now in the third canto.
You know how you want to hear how
chapter.
You know, well, let me just share how I explain that to people, that verse.
All right.
I say, listen, you can be incredibly dutiful. Like you might be a dutiful father who he doesn't cheat on his wife. He brings home the money, doesn't gamble it away. He's very responsible, but he has no love.
Mm-hmm.
Without the love, what good is the duty?
Right.
You like that one?
Right.
That's a good one.
So, and again, if by nature we're like that magnet that's supposed to snap. And the very name Krishna means Krish. You know what that's like the Krish.
I like the way you're saying it.
Yeah, you kind of say it like you're a ventriloquist. Krish. It's kind of like that.
Or like you're the frog on
Krish.
On Courageous Cat.
Minnie Mouse. Yeah, I don't even the name Krishna is not. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, but it's like Krishna. But that Krish, that syllable means attraction, right? So Krishna.
Have you ever hung out with a Sanskrit guy? And he's like, no, you're pronouncing the Maha Mantra all wrong. Ever hang out with one of those guys? Going chanting the Maha Mantra. Guess what, people? If you're pronouncing it wrong, if you run into one of those Sanskrit guys that start to correct your Rama, I've got good news for you. Krishna understands your intention. Just like when a little child says, wah, 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 and wants some water. The father understands, the mother understands the intention. Krishna understands your intention here. We had somebody, I think, correct us, Kaustubha. No, Baba. You're saying all wrong. Krishna does not hear that.
So in any case, Krishna means the attractor. We are the attracted. That's by nature, we're the attract. And as soon as we do these practices of yoga, again, beginning with being dutiful, adding in that temple worship, throwing in cultivating, seeing everyone equally, being straightforward, hearing and chanting and all these. So the point is that when we become, how do we know it's working? Is because we begin to become attracted. We begin to snap, right? Someone starts to read Bhagavatam, you see the form of Krishna, boom, you're attracted. You begin to lose interest, even in things like avalanches, even in things like, what was that? jumps. What do you call it?
Flying knees.
Flying
Flying knees,
knees.
knockout, street fights. These are all my.
Even where knockout street fights were fascinating too at one point.
They bring me to higher levels of consciousness. All these things.
Well, for you, because you're
Spinning
seeing
back fist.
Krishna
Hashtag that one.
in those. Yeah, you're different. You're thinking of Krishna even when you're watching those street
Mixed
fights.
martial arts things. I think of the gladiators. I think of the warriors. I think of the Mahabharata battles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
What do you follow? Put me on the hot seat.
Okay.
All right. Continuing on.
Yeah.
When one is 19.
19.
When one is fully qualified with all these transcendental attributes and his consciousness is thus completely purified, they immediately are attracted simply by hearing my name or hearing my transcendental quality.
They don't need anything else, right? Like we were talking when we had you over here the other day, Raghunath, and I laid you down on the couch. I said, just lie down. We're going to read you a little short.
That's what it sounds like.
All right. But who did you say? Who did it remind you of? The one guy you know is Bob Dylan. Who did?
Okay, go on.
You said that reminded you of something.
What are you talking about?
Hari
You're telling me about
Bhajan.
you
When
laid me
you're
down
in
on the
Vrindavan,
couch.
Hari Bhajan. Remember?
Oh,
that's what you said.
oh, yeah. Because in Vrindavan, Hari Bhajan, the bridge boss, used to go to me. He used to feed me, and he used to say, "Lay down, lay down," and he would set up a little burlap sack for me to sleep on. I'd be like, "Okay, I'll lay down,"
Like an old rice bag.
like an old rice bag, and I would sleep on that.
Yeah.
Every time I would go there, he would feed me, feed Paramananda too, and then he'd just go, "Lay down." It's like the sweetest thing you could ever do to someone. Feed them and then tell them to lay down.
I'll do that for you today, Raghunath, if you want.
Lay
Do it
down.
again. Yeah. And so then, but the point is here, it's saying that all you need is that, right? Just read me this Krishna's pastimes. I'm just attracted to that. I'm fully satisfied. Now you know you're getting spiritually healthy, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Nityananda Chandra called me Dokla Bubba and Chutney Pants.
Okay, Raghunath. Let's keep it going here.
All right, text 20. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source. What? And immediately catches the sense of smell. Similarly, one who constantly engages in bhakti, devotional service, in Krishna consciousness, can catch the Supreme Soul, who is equally present everywhere. Let me try that again. My brain didn't even... As the chariot of air carries an aroma. So that's air in the wind, right?
Yeah.
From its source and immediately catches the sense of smell. It's my nose.
The smell, in other words, this nose naturally picks up scents that are floating through the air. It does.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Yeah. Similarly, one who constantly engages in bhakti can catch the Supreme Soul, who's equally present everywhere.
He's everywhere.
So he's everywhere. I'm blind. I'm covered over. I've got the blackout curtains, so to speak. You know, when you go to the hotel and you can't see any light coming through.
Mhm.
I've got blackout curtains of Maya covering me from understanding my spiritual significance and God without. And then slowly the practice of bhakti starts to open those curtains and everywhere. Light is everywhere. Duh.
Yeah, like even on a person less spiritually realized, less spiritually aware might think, I need to go to this place to find God, right? Like I need to go somewhere, and when I get there, I'll begin to realize the presence of God. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's great, right? But for the person that's more spiritually aware, it's like it's floating through the air everywhere. It's like, God is, they're realizing the presence of God. It says here, what does it say? As a chariot, one who constantly engages in devotion, they catch the Supreme Soul who's equally present everywhere. Right? There's nowhere they can go where they're not thinking of God, because they're just like the radio waves, right? Like they're all around us, but we don't realize it.
The tuner's not in it. I like my analogy. I'm looking for approval here, looking for validation. People
Which one
give me
now?
Thumbs up. The blackout curtains.
Blackout curtains. What
Of
is a
Maya.
blackout curtain?
Mary, you know what a
I got
blackout
it down
curtain
as
is?
a takeaway.
What?
What
You got it down as a
exactly is
takeaway already. She was receptive. She understood.
Okay. I don't.
Blackout curtains are those curtains in hotels. They're like lead practically. You
Oh,
close
okay.
them.
Gotcha.
No light comes in. This
Right.
is what we do in Maya.
We got
No light
blackout
is
curtains.
in. Blackout curtains, and then slowly crack.
I validate your analogy.
You like it? You got to say, me like it.
I'm not going to say that, but I'll validate it. Okay. Text 21.
I'm a drifter. Text 21. I am present in every living entity as the super soul.
You know what's going to happen now, Raghunath?
He's going to quote the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Well, no, I was going to just say text 20 is the first text. It gave us a hint right now. It was mentioned that God is present everywhere, okay? Right? And that once you've purified your mind, you begin to pick up on that. Now we're going to have an onslaught of verses. They're going to come one after another. Boom, boom, boom. And you know what's going to happen in these verses?
What?
It's really going to differentiate. People talk about, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, right?
Yeah, I said
But nobody can define what either one means, you know? These verses.
What's the
right?
difference?
It's like people are so vague
I
about
don't
it.
go to church. I see God everywhere.
I see God everywhere, these verses are going to really begin to clarify what the difference. And the way that they're going to do it is by pointing out, let's say, a lack of depth in one's spiritual practice. In other words, you think you're spiritual, but and really what it comes down to, and it's going to hit it one verse after another. If you're not seeing God in everyone, then you're actually not seeing spiritually. Even if you're doing the quote unquote religious ritual, right?
Even if I have my rose quartz malas.
Even if you have your rose quartz mala, even if you're worshiping the deity in the temple, even if you're going to church every Sunday, even whatever, if you're doing those external things, but you're not recognizing the divinity of every living being and the divinity living in every living being, and if you're not responding to it, well, then it's saying all of that ritual, it's going to get really, it's going to use strong language. And one analogy that's going to be used in the coming verse.
You fool.
Not even like that. But in other words, it's going to say useless. It's all useless through an analogy. And that analogy will be like if you have a sacrificial fire.
Right.
And you're
they
chanting your
build
mantras.
these little fires and they pour the ghee and the grains.
It's a ritual. Yeah, and so the fire, through mantra, you call the presence of Lord Vishnu into that fire, and you offer grains and ghee into the fire. So you're making an offering that's being accepted. But it's going to say that if you are doing all these rituals and you're doing it all just right, but you're not seeing God within the heart of every living being, then it's like you're pouring the ghee on ashes. Like there's no fire there. There's nothing to accept it. Or you're disconnected. These are powerful verses. Difference between religion and spirituality coming up right here.
Yep. Whew. All right. 21.
Did you read?
20?
Yeah, 21.
I am present in every entity as the super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere, if someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation.
It's imitation.
There you go. You God is in the temple. God is in the temple. But I treat this guy next to me like a piece of trash. Yeah. Nope.
You're imitating spiritual realization without actually having it.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. That's what is called kanishta. Kanishta means, Kanishta means you have this great respect for the temple, this concept of God, but you can't see God anywhere else outside the temple. You can't see them in the devotees. It's that same old thing. If I don't like a person, then I look at them as ungodly, or I find all their faults, even if they're practicing spiritual life. There's a big thing to get over. We just tend to like the people that like us or that are like us, and not the people that are actually, and not seeing. And that's the hard work, of course, is training ourselves to see spirit in the people, training ourselves to see spirit in people that are acting like jerks.
Okay.
Basically, or that don't stroke my big fat ego.
All right. Now, do you know the verse that you're speaking about there?
The Kanishta verse?
Yeah.
No.
Because in the 11th
hot cedar?
canto, there's going to be 3 verses that talk about depth of one's bhakti practice on 3 different levels. And that would be the Kanishta, the very beginning level, the Madhyam, the mid level, and the Uttama, the ultimate level, right?
Uttam.
Yeah. So the first one is Archiyam Eva Hariye. Archiyam means the deity, right? Archyam Eva Hare, the deity of Lord Hari, of Krishna, of Vishnu, whatever, in the temple. Pujam Ye Shraddhayate, one who worships that deity, Pujam, with Shraddha, with great faith. Natad Bhakteshu, but not towards the devotees. They're not offering that worship or that respect or that, that kind of, they're not recognizing the divinity in the bhaktas, in Krishna's devotees, in the devotees of God. Chanyeshu, or the rest of the people for that matter, right? Natad Bhakteshu Chanyeshu, what do we call that person? Sa Bhakta Prakrita Smritaha. That person is called a Prakrita Bhakta, a materialistic devotee. They're not very deep in their realization. You want to hear the translation in this one? Or well, I'll read the translation in the commentary. Here's the translation. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general. Not even, right? It's not even just like, okay, for a certain class of people, I'll show respect. No, everyone.
Everyone.
That person is called a Prakrita Bhakta, a materialistic devotee. And
the translation for that is like a new jack.
A newbie.
You're a new jack.
A wannabe. It's really a wannabe.
You don't respect people. You dissing me. You're a new jack. Devotee.
It's a wannabe devotee. Is really what it is. Yeah. So that person is called a Prakrita Bhakta, a wannabe devotee, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. Now here's the commentary on this verse. Srila Madhvacharya comments.
So he's one of the great commentators, ancient commentators.
Who you put on the cover of your shelter record?
I put on the shelter. Yeah, he's the guy holding up two fingers, right? Making the Jesus mudra on the cover of the first shelter record for any shelter people out there.
What's the record? What's the name of the record?
Perfection of Desire.
There you go. So Srila Madhvacharya comments that one in the lowest stage of devotional service faithfully worships the deity in the temple, but is not aware that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually all-pervading. This same mentality can be seen in the Western countries. Okay, so it's not only...
Madhvacharya said that?
Yes. No. Now the commentary is continuing. I'm assuming that wasn't Madhvacharya that said that. Right?
That'd be very interesting to hear Madhvacharya comment on the Western countries.
No, I don't think it's
like 1,000.
So it says Srila Madhvacharya comments, and then they make his comment. Now it goes on to say that same mentality has been seen in Western countries where people commit all types of sinful activities in their homes and in the streets, but then piously go out in the streets. They're doing all kind of things.
What are they doing?
They're doing things out in their homes. They're doing things in the streets. But then they piously go to the church and pray to God for mercy. Actually, God is in our home. God is in the street. God is in our office. God is in the forest. God is everywhere. And therefore, God should be worshipped everywhere by the process of devotional service at his lotus feet. As stated in verse 41 of this chapter, and it quotes, a devotee should not see anything being separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, either ether, fire, air, water, earth, and the sun and other luminaries, all living beings, the directions, trees and other plants, the rivers and oceans, whatever a devotee experiences, they should consider to be an expansion of Krishna, thus seeing everything that exists within creation as the body of the Supreme Lord Hari. The devotee should offer his sincere respects to the entire expansion of the Lord's body. This is the vision of the Mahabhagavat, devotee of the Lord, of that highest devotee. That's the vision that we're cultivating. We don't want to be
the vision of the Mahabhagavat. We had a song called Message of the Bhagavat, so now I did.
Vision of the Mahabhagavat.
Vision of the Mahabhagavat. So the Bhagavat is not just like the Bhagavatam book. It means a person who has imbibed the Bhagavatam. So we are Mahabhagavat in training. We're training ourselves to be Mahabhagavats.
We don't want. We might be wannabes now. We don't want to stay wannabes. Don't stay a wannabe.
Don't stay a wannabe.
That's a takeaway.
Hashtag that.
Speaking of
don't
takeaways,
be a wannabe. That's a T-shirt almost.
Yeah, don't be
a
poser.
Don't be a
wannabe Vaishnava.
Don't be a new jack.
Yeah.
New jack. That's such a put down, isn't it? You new jack. No, I'm not. You new jack.
All right, Mara, do we have any takeaways?
Oh, Mara, give us some wisdom. Give us a little chunk of wisdom.
The microphone
with
working
us today.
No. We have a lot.
No, your mic is working.
We gave her a defective microphone.
I think she sounds great.
She does sound loud and clear today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A wise man's hostility is short-lived.
Yeah.
Back there, yeah.
Don't glamorize holding grudges.
True.
There's a low
That's
ceiling.
like that's not t-shirt worthy, but it's true, but not.
There's a
t-shirt
low ceiling in spiritual advancement if you hold resentment.
worthy. Okay.
Hang out with people who uplift you.
Yeah.
Without the love, what good is the duty?
That's a song. Without the love, what is the duty?
Krishna understands your intention.
He does.
Bhakti opens the blackout curtains of Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Blackout.
If you aren't seeing divinity in everyone, you're disconnected. And don't stay a wannabe.
Don't stay a
Stay, I
wannabe.
want. Don't stay, I want to be. Don't stay, I want to be. Don't stay, I want to be. Go.
We're blackout curtains from Dayton, Ohio.
Blackout curtains. Thanks for everybody for joining us. What a great Friday. Tomorrow is Q&A day. If you have a Q, we'll try our best to give you an A. That's questions and answers day. And you just got to write those questions into Mara. She keeps a big stack on her desk, a big stack of emails on her desktop. Isn't it interesting? We've just created these words, desktop.
Okay.
Right? Isn't it interesting? Laptop,
Fascinating.
desktops,
I'm fascinated by that.
outbox, inbox, text
Mouse.
me, mouse. The given whole new language started in 40 years. Anyway, write to Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Send her a message. Follow her.
Get it in quick, though.
Yeah, get it in quick. Well, it doesn't matter. If we don't answer it this week, we'll answer it next week. We have Sunday off this week. Sunday is sleep really in Sunday. Sleep in Sunday. No class on Sunday. But tomorrow, we're looking forward. Huh?
You know what we have on Sunday is Seth Lieberman is doing his harmonium meetup group.
Okay.
Seth Lieberman's Harmonium Meetup group. Don't forget about that. If you're a Patreon member, you get access to this valuable wealth and treasure trove of goodies, including Seth Lieberman's Harmonium Meetup group. Whether you have talent or no talent whatsoever, you are welcome.
Also, Katie Bell is offering her Bhakti immersion Saturday. It's an all-day thing to our Patreon members on Zoom.
Okay. Katie Bell. Katie Bell's great. We love her. Bhakti immersion. What does that include in that immersion?
Yeah, it's like an entire day. There's a ton of guest speakers, guest teachers.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
it looks
all right.
great.
That's great. So thanks, Patreon members. And Patreon members really want, from the bottom of my heart, from my dark heart, I want to thank you all for contributing to the show. It is community-sponsored podcast, and I love seeing you all here on Zoom. If you want to join us on Zoom, just write Mara. She'll give you the secret codes. No questions asked. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And remember, I want to plug Shama Sundar's book. I'm not getting anything back from this. I just love Shama Sundar. ChasingRhinos.com. You know, he's a great soul. By serving great souls, great service is done. Such service, Kaustubha,
Brings an
one
affinity
gains
for the
affinity
hearing of the
for
message
hearing
of
the
God.
message of Vasudev.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the whole thing here. We want to serve great souls.